We live in a world that mistakes motion for progress. Busyness is praised, constant stimulation is normalized, and stillness is quietly treated as weakness. From the moment we wake up, our attention is pulled in every direction. Notifications, content, obligations, each one demanding energy. Yet despite doing more than ever, many people feel exhausted, unfocused, and strangely unfulfilled. This video begins with a simple but unsettling idea. Perhaps the reason life feels overwhelming is not because we are doing too little, but because we are doing far too much. The art of doing less and achieving more sounds almost contradictory in a culture built on overconsumption. We're taught that success requires constant effort, endless input, and non-stop productivity. But philosophy has long pointed to the opposite truth. The most meaningful lives were not built through accumulation, but through subtraction, by choosing what truly matters and letting the rest fall away. Doing less is not laziness, it is precision. It is the discipline of removing what distracts, so that what remains can receive your full attention. When the mind is constantly overstimulated, nothing feels satisfying. Endless scrolling, compulsive checking, and background noise masquerade as rest, but they quietly drain focus and energy. Stepping back from this cycle creates space to think clearly, to feel deeply, and to act with intention. When stimulation decreases, clarity increases. When attention is no longer fragmented, even small efforts begin to carry weight. Slowing down does not mean retreating from life. It means engaging with it more deliberately. It means choosing depth over breadth, presence over urgency. When you stop reacting to every impulse, your nervous system settles. Decisions become simpler. Focus sharpens. Life feels less like a race and more like a path you can actually walk with awareness. Minimalism and slow living are not aesthetic trends or productivity hacks. They are philosophical responses to a world that has become too loud. They teach that fulfillment comes not from excess, but from alignment. Peace emerges not when everything is available, but when you commit fully to fewer things. By removing what is unnecessary, you reclaim time, energy, and attention, the foundations of a meaningful life. Achieving more in this sense does not mean doing more tasks or chasing endless goals. It means achieving coherence. It means directing your energy toward what actually matters instead of scattering it across distractions. When your mind is no longer hijacked by constant stimulation, your work becomes focused, your rest becomes restorative, and your life begins to feel intentional again. Minimalism at its core is about intentionality. It's about choosing what truly matters and letting go of what doesn't. It's not about living with nothing or depriving yourself of comfort. It's about removing the excess so that what remains has more space, more meaning, and more presence in your life. It's living in such a way that your environment, your schedule, your thoughts, and your priorities are aligned with your values. Minimalism isn't a one-size-fits-all rulebook. It's a mindset, a filter you apply to every aspect of your life to help you decide, is this helping me live better, or is it just noise? One of the biggest misconceptions about minimalism is that it's about austerity, that it means owning only a set number of possessions, living in an empty apartment with white walls, and refusing to enjoy anything material. But that's not minimalism, that's extremism. True minimalism doesn't say own nothing, it says own what serves you. If a bookshelf full of books brings you joy and reflection, it belongs. If a single chair and one spoon make your life more peaceful, then that's enough. Minimalism is about designing your life in a way that supports your well-being, not impressing others, not copying a trend, but choosing simplicity with purpose. In recent years, minimalism has exploded in popularity. You've probably seen it on YouTube channels, Instagram accounts, Netflix documentaries, or lifestyle blogs. Marie Kondo became a household name with her idea of sparking joy. Digital minimalism, led by thinkers like Cal Newport, encouraged people to take control of their technology use. Even mainstream advertising has started selling minimalist products. But while this rise in popularity has helped many people discover the benefits of living with less, it also comes with a downside. It often turns minimalism into a surface-level aesthetic rather than a meaningful lifestyle shift. That's the danger of trends. They can water down powerful ideas. Minimalism isn't just about how your apartment looks. It's not about posting pictures of empty desks or throwing out 90% of your wardrobe. Those things might be part of it, but they're not the heart of it. The heart of minimalism is about asking better questions. What do I actually need to live a good life? Why do I keep filling my life with things that add stress instead of value? What am I really searching for beneath all this accumulation? Let's face it, we live in a world where people are drowning in stuff, but starving for meaning. We buy more clothes, but feel less confident. We scroll for hours, but feel more disconnected. We chase careers, achievements, and upgrades, but still feel like something's missing. And this isn't just a coincidence, it's the consequence of living in a system that equates more with better, but as we're starting to see, more often leads to overwhelm, not joy. So we're left with a very honest, very unsettling question. Why, despite owning more than ever before, are people less happy? You'd think with all the advancements in technology, transportation, convenience, and comfort, we'd be living in an age of contentment. But the reality is just the opposite. Rates of anxiety, depression, loneliness, and burnout are all rising. People feel more stressed, more distracted, more purposeless. And maybe, just maybe, it's because we've filled our lives with so much that we've lost sight of what really matters. This is where minimalism can help, but not the shallow, Instagram-filtered version. The kind of minimalism that's rooted in ancient philosophy. Because long before minimalism became a buzzword, it was a way of life for many of the world's wisest thinkers. The Stoics, for example, believed in focusing only on what is essential. They trained themselves to avoid unnecessary desires, to embrace discomfort, and to find contentment in simplicity. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor, wrote extensively about letting go of things that distract the soul. He knew that power, fame, and luxury were fleeting, and that peace comes from within, not from possessions. Taoism, another ancient tradition, teaches the value of flowing with life rather than constantly trying to control it. Taoist masters emphasize simplicity, stillness, and detachment from the material world, not as a rejection of pleasure, but as a return to harmony. They saw the beauty in empty spaces, the wisdom in silence, and the power in doing less. Epicurus, often misunderstood as a hedonist, actually preached the exact opposite of indulgence. He believed that happiness came from modesty, self-sufficiency, and the pursuit of intellectual and emotional pleasures over material ones. To Epicurus, the simple life was the path to the most lasting joy. Zen Buddhism brought perhaps the most refined version of minimalist philosophy. Its core is emptiness, not as a void, but as a space of infinite possibility. Zen practice involves shedding layers of distraction, clutter, and ego until only presence remains. Through mindfulness, simplicity, and inner clarity, Zen aims to cut through life's noise and reveal the peace already within. These philosophical traditions weren't about cleaning out closets, they were about cleaning out illusions. They understood that when we chase too much, we lose touch with ourselves, and that by doing less, not more, we actually become more alive, more focused, more at peace. So when we ask, why are we less happy with more stuff? The answer is not just psychological or economic, it's philosophical. We've forgotten how to live with intention. We've mistaken accumulation for fulfillment, and we've stopped listening to the wisdom of stillness, of simplicity, of clarity. Minimalism, in its most powerful form, is a return to that wisdom. It's a modern answer rooted in ancient insight. It's not a rejection of the world, but a re-evaluation of how we live in it. And in the sections to come, we'll dive deeper into each of these philosophical perspectives. Stoicism, Taoism, Epicureanism, and Zen, and see how their timeless teachings can guide us to live with less, but feel so much more. At the heart of Stoicism lies a simple but life-changing idea. We suffer more from our judgments than from the world itself. The Stoics taught that our well-being does not depend on external circumstances, but on how we choose to perceive and respond to them. And one of their most enduring principles is this: learn to distinguish between what you can control and what you cannot. This may seem like common sense, but few people actually live this way. We spend enormous amounts of energy worrying about things outside our control. What others think of us, whether we'll be successful, if we're keeping up with others, if we have enough. But according to the Stoics, this is wasted effort. Real peace begins when you accept that only your thoughts, actions, and attitudes are within your power. Everything else, fame, fortune, other people's opinions, even your own body, is ultimately beyond your full command. Once you internalize the Stoic division of control, you begin to see that many of the things you accumulate are attempts to control the uncontrollable. You buy expensive clothes to control how others perceive you. You fill your calendar with obligations to prove your value. You decorate your life with things that scream, "I'm doing well," because deep down, you fear that without them, you won't be enough. But the Stoic would ask, does this truly serve you? Or are you just reacting to fear, insecurity, or ego? This is where the philosophy meets practice. Take Marcus Aurelius, for instance. He was the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, and yet in his private writings, he constantly reminded himself to strip away anything unnecessary. He asked himself regularly, does this add value or meaning to my life? For a man surrounded by luxury, that's a radical question, and it's still radical today. If an emperor can ask himself whether his wealth, power, or possessions actually matter, so can we. Try applying Marcus's question to your own life. Open your closet, scroll through your phone apps, look at your calendar and ask, does this add meaning? If it doesn't, it's probably a source of friction, not peace. When you reduce these unnecessary inputs, you create room for clarity, not just physically, but mentally. Imagine waking up in a clean space without visual clutter. Imagine not being pulled in 10 different directions by notifications and noise. That's not just aesthetic, that's mental discipline. And that's what Stoicism offers, the clarity that comes from cutting away what's not essential. Seneca, another giant of Stoic thought, went even deeper into the connection between simplicity and contentment. He believed that wealth is not about having much, but about needing little. In one of his letters he wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, who is poor." This flips the modern idea of success completely on its head. Today, we are conditioned to think that success means having more money, more status, more stuff. But Seneca would say, the more you crave, the less free you are. You become a servant to your desires. Seneca even practiced voluntary discomfort. He would sleep on the floor, eat plain food, or wear simple clothes. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to train himself to see how little he actually needed to be content. He didn't want to be enslaved by luxury or comfort. He wanted to prove to himself that happiness was internal, that if everything external were taken away, he would still remain whole. Now, let's bring this into the real world with a modern example. Think of someone like Ryan Holiday, a contemporary writer who has brought Stoicism into modern life. He lives on a farm, keeps a minimalist workspace, and writes about how cutting out distractions and non-essential possessions has made him not only more productive, but more focused and at peace. He practices what he calls practical stoicism. No clutter, no noise, just discipline, presence, and purpose. And this isn't just about work, it's about how he lives, how he thinks, how he raises his children. That's the power of stoic minimalism. It doesn't just clean your house, it cleans your mind. Another real-world example might be someone in a high-pressure job who learns Stoic philosophy and realizes that their relentless chase for status and income is actually eroding their peace of mind. Maybe they downsize their home, simplify their lifestyle, and begin journaling in the mornings. They reflect on what truly matters, and gradually the noise in their life fades. They become more grounded, more present, and less reactive to the chaos around them. That's not a lifestyle change, that's a transformation of values. So how can you begin applying Stoic minimalism in your own life? Start with daily reflection. This is one of the most powerful tools in the Stoic toolkit. Each morning or evening, take a few minutes to ask yourself, what am I holding on to that I don't need? What in my day was outside of my control, and how did I respond? What do I truly need to be content? Write your answers down. Make this a habit. Over time, you'll begin to notice patterns, places where you're chasing things that don't matter, habits that clutter your mind, distractions that drain your energy. Next, apply the Stoic filter to your environment. Go through your belongings, not with the question, do I use this, but does this contribute to a meaningful life? If something serves a clear purpose or brings genuine joy, keep it. If it's just occupying space, mentally or physically, let it go. Then apply it to your time. Look at your commitments. Ask yourself, why am I doing this? Is it out of obligation, fear, status, or is it aligned with your values? The Stoics were ruthless in cutting out what didn't matter, not because they were cold, but because they understood that life is short and attention is sacred. One final practice: embrace voluntary simplicity now and then. Try going a day without your phone, eat a plain meal, wear simple clothes, not as punishment, but as training, to show yourself how little you actually need to be okay, to prove to yourself that peace isn't bought, it's cultivated. In the end, Stoicism teaches us that clarity doesn't come from having more, it comes from needing less. And control doesn't come from grasping tighter, it comes from letting go of what you can't control and focusing deeply on what you can. In that space between letting go of the unnecessary and embracing the essential, you find freedom. And this truly is the foundation of philosophical minimalism. Not just a clean desk or an organized closet, but a disciplined, intentional, and deeply free mind. A mind that knows what matters and has the courage to live accordingly. Taoism offers a radically different perspective from the world most of us live in today. It's not obsessed with control, achievement, or even understanding everything. Instead, it focuses on aligning with the natural flow of life, the Tao. The Tao, according to ancient Chinese philosophy, is the mysterious force that runs through all things: nature, time, the universe, and even human behavior. It's not something you can see or hold. It's something you feel when you stop resisting and start flowing. And this philosophy of effortless alignment with life gives us a powerful lens to understand and apply minimalism, not as a rigid rule book, but as a way of being. Taoism teaches that much of our suffering comes from resistance, trying too hard to shape reality into our idea of what it should be. But the Tao says, let go, stop pushing, stop forcing, stop overcomplicating. Just like a river doesn't fight its way around rocks. It flows naturally, effortlessly, so too should we move through life with grace and acceptance. This idea is deeply connected to simplicity. The more we try to control everything, our possessions, our image, our outcomes, the more tangled and chaotic life becomes. But when we let go, when we return to what is simple, gentle, and natural, peace begins to emerge. Lao Tzu, the legendary author of the Tao Te Ching, captured this beautifully in a line that still resonates centuries later. Simplicity, patience, compassion, these are your greatest treasures. Notice that he doesn't mention wealth, success, intelligence, or control. He points us toward inner qualities, ways of relating to the world that have nothing to do with accumulation and everything to do with connection. Simplicity in Taoism isn't a downgrade. It's not about losing anything. It's about making space to actually feel the rhythm of life again. And when you begin to live this way, minimalism becomes a natural outcome, not a forced one. One of the most beautiful concepts in Taoism is the value of empty space. In Western culture, we often think of emptiness as negative, something that needs to be filled. An empty shelf? Let's buy something to put on it. An empty hour? Let's fill it with scrolling, watching, or working. But the Taoist sees emptiness differently. Lao Tzu wrote, "We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside that holds whatever we want." In other words, it's not the material that gives value, it's the space it creates. Apply this to your life. Look around your home. Where is there room to breathe? Where is there stillness? Is your physical space overfilled with objects you barely notice? Is your mind constantly occupied with worries, tasks, and noise? Taoism invites you to consider that the absence of things can be more powerful than the presence of them. That stillness can be more nourishing than stimulation. That space can be more meaningful than stuff. This isn't abstract, it has direct practical applications. One of the simplest Taoist-inspired exercises is this. Walk through your home, not to clean or organize, but just to observe. Notice how much is actually there. Notice the items you walk past every day but never use, the books you never read, the trinkets you don't remember buying. Then, gently ask yourself, not harshly, but with curiosity, am I holding on to this because it serves me now, or because I once thought it might? Taoism doesn't demand you throw it all away. It simply invites you to let go of your grip, to release your attachment to outcomes, to identity tied up in things, to the belief that more will make you more. Another practice is creating intentional stillness. In Taoist homes and temples, space is honored. Rooms are simple, open, and uncluttered, not for appearance's sake, but because empty space is seen as sacred. Try bringing this into your own environment. Clear off a surface, leave a space open, choose one corner of a room and keep it minimal. Just a chair and a lamp or a plant and a cushion. Let that space represent clarity, openness, calm. Don't fill it. Let it breathe. On a deeper level, Taoism also encourages emotional minimalism. Letting go doesn't just apply to objects, it also applies to expectations and judgments. One of the most toxic habits we develop is clinging to specific outcomes. I must get this job. They must love me back. This plan must succeed. Taoism reminds us that life doesn't follow our plans, it flows according to its own wisdom. And the more we try to force it, the more frustrated we become. But when we let go of our need to control everything, when we soften our expectations and stay present, we start to feel peace again. So how do we apply this in daily life? Start small. Every morning, practice non-attachment. When something doesn't go your way, traffic, a missed deadline, a changed plan, pause and remind yourself, this is not mine to control. Let it go. Breathe into the moment. Focus on how you're responding, not on what you can't change. That alone can remove enormous clutter from your mind. In your environment, choose one area to simplify, not because it's messy, but because it's overstimulating. Maybe it's your desk, maybe it's your phone screen, maybe it's your schedule. Remove a few things, not all, just a few. Leave the space open. Watch how it feels. Let stillness speak. Another Taoist-inspired ritual is the practice of nothingness. Set aside just 5 minutes a day to do nothing. No phone, no book, no talking, no to-do list. Just sit or stand or lie down in silence. Let your thoughts pass. Don't chase them. Don't analyze them. Just be. This practice is subtle but powerful. Over time, it reconnects you to the present, to your body, and to the quiet intelligence of the moment. The actionable takeaway here is simple but profound. Make room. In your space, your time, your mind. Don't just declutter, deload. Don't just simplify, soften. Taoism isn't about conquering life. It's about aligning with it. And when you begin to live this way, you'll notice something beautiful happening. You'll feel less urgency, less pressure, less grasping. And in that quiet, open space, joy arises. Not from stimulation, but from presence. Taoism teaches us that the way to freedom isn't through control, it's through surrender. And minimalism, when practiced through the Taoist lens, becomes more than just an external lifestyle. It becomes a way of moving through the world, gently, lightly, intentionally, with space to breathe and space to be. When people hear the name Epicurus, they often assume he was some kind of ancient party philosopher, someone who advocated for indulgence, luxury, and doing whatever feels good. The word Epicurean in modern language has become linked with fine dining, gourmet experiences, and a kind of elite pleasure-seeking lifestyle. But the truth about Epicurus and his philosophy is almost the complete opposite. He was not a hedonist in the way people often think. He didn't believe that endless pleasure was the goal of life. He believed that peace was, and he taught that the most reliable way to reach that peace was through simplicity, moderation, and contentment with very little. Epicurus lived a life of intentional simplicity. He had a small garden, ate plain meals, and surrounded himself with friends who valued honest conversation and self-reflection over wealth or fame. For him, the greatest pleasures were not found in excess or extravagance, but in the freedom from fear, anxiety, and constant craving. His version of pleasure was calm, sustainable, and deeply personal. It wasn't the high of excitement. It was the comfort of being at ease with yourself and your life. One of his most profound and often quoted lines is this: "Not what we have, but what we enjoy constitutes our abundance." This single sentence flips the modern consumer mindset on its head. It suggests that true wealth doesn't come from owning more, it comes from enjoying what we already have. You can live in a palace and feel empty, or live in a one-room apartment and feel rich, because abundance, in the Epicurean sense, is not about accumulation, it's about appreciation. This philosophy fits perfectly with the minimalist mindset. While minimalism encourages us to reduce our possessions and obligations, Epicureanism teaches us why that matters. When you strip away the noise of unnecessary desire, you create space for real pleasure, the kind that doesn't expire after the thrill fades, the kind that nourishes you without demanding more. Epicurus divided human desires into 3 categories: natural and necessary, natural but unnecessary, and neither natural nor necessary. This framework offers a powerful lens for reevaluating what we pursue. Natural and necessary desires include things like food, shelter, friendship, rest. These are the basics of a content life. Natural but unnecessary desires might include fancy meals, luxury clothing, or elaborate entertainment. These things can be enjoyed, but they're not required for happiness. Neither natural nor necessary desires are the ones that cause us the most trouble. Status, fame, constant novelty, the need to impress others. Epicurus warned that chasing these unnatural and unnecessary desires would only lead to dissatisfaction, anxiety, and dependence on external validation. Instead, he recommended that we train ourselves to find joy in the simple, quiet, and sustainable pleasures of life. So what does that look like today, in a world dominated by advertising, consumer culture, and social media comparison? It starts with slowing down and noticing where your pleasures actually come from. Are they real, or are they reactions to societal pressure? For example, when you buy a new gadget, are you really excited about the object itself, or are you trying to fill a void, or impress others, or feel momentarily important? When you book a vacation, is it for genuine rest and connection, or for the pictures you'll post? These are not judgments, they're invitations to reflect. An Epicurean approach invites you to ask, what do I actually enjoy? Not what I'm told I should enjoy, not what others seem to enjoy, but what brings me quiet, fulfilling satisfaction. That might be a walk in nature, a deep conversation, a home-cooked meal, a morning with no agenda. These pleasures don't require money, status, or external achievement. They require attention, presence, and self-awareness. One practical step you can take is what I call the desire inventory. Sit down with a piece of paper and write out your major desires, things you spend your time and energy pursuing. Then label each one using Epicurus' categories. Is it natural and necessary? Natural but unnecessary? Or neither? Be honest with yourself. You may be surprised at how many of your daily actions are driven by desires that don't actually lead to contentment. Once you see this clearly, you can begin to let go of the ones that don't serve you and simplify your life in a way that feels liberating rather than limiting. Another helpful exercise is to practice intentional gratitude for simple pleasures. Each day, make a habit of noticing and mentally acknowledging the small joys in your life. A warm cup of tea, a moment of silence, a text from a friend, the way sunlight comes through your window. Don't just notice them, savor them. The mind that learns to find abundance in the ordinary becomes far less vulnerable to the traps of comparison and craving. Epicurus also emphasized the importance of friendship as one of life's essential pleasures. He believed that meaningful relationships were key to human happiness, not networking, not social climbing, but honest, mutual, supportive connection. In your minimalist journey, think about how much time and energy you dedicate to nurturing the relationships that actually matter. Are you investing in people who bring peace and joy into your life? Or are you distracted by shallow interactions that leave you drained? There's also the idea of voluntary simplicity, which echoes Epicurean values. It's the conscious choice to live with less, not out of guilt, but out of clarity. To walk away from unnecessary desire is to walk towards something better, more time, more peace, more freedom. This could mean spending less money, decluttering your home, simplifying your meals, or even scaling back on work hours to reclaim more of your life. Again, the key is intentionality. You don't give things up because they're bad. You let them go because you found something better. And that something better is often just space. Space in your day to breathe. Space in your mind to think. Space in your heart to be still. In a world obsessed with more, space is one of the most luxurious things you can have. And you don't have to buy it. You just have to stop filling it. To live like Epicurus is to understand that pleasure is not found in abundance, but in appreciated sufficiency. That less can not only be enough, it can be more stable, more joyful, more real. So here's your Epicurean takeaway. Identify one desire in your life that causes unnecessary stress. Ask yourself whether it's truly necessary or just conditioned. Try letting go of it for a week. Replace it with a simple, low-cost pleasure that's easy to access, like taking a walk, writing in a journal, cooking a basic meal, or reconnecting with an old friend. Do this not as a discipline, but as an experiment. See how it feels. You might discover that what you thought you needed was only ever a distraction from what you already had. Epicurus didn't promise excitement, he promised peace. And in a world that never stops shouting, that's the kind of quiet we all need more of. Zen Buddhism offers a powerful and poetic approach to minimalism, one that doesn't begin in the closet or the calendar, but in the mind. While other philosophies may emphasize detachment, simplicity, or intentionality, Zen focuses on direct experience. It doesn't give you a long list of doctrines or intellectual frameworks to memorize. Instead, it invites you to look, to sit, to breathe, to pay attention to the present moment so completely that the noise of your thoughts begins to dissolve and something deeper, something simpler starts to emerge. At the heart of Zen is the practice of mindfulness, an awareness that is rooted in right now. Zen teaches that most of our suffering comes from living either in the past, through regret and nostalgia, or in the future, through worry and anticipation. We rarely experience the moment we are in, even though it's the only one that actually exists. This disconnect is what fills our minds with clutter. We carry around stories, identities, anxieties, and judgments like old, unnecessary luggage. Zen asks us to put that luggage down, not through force, but through attention. When we learn to be fully present, to accept reality exactly as it is, something magical happens. We begin to see clearly again, and that clarity is the very foundation of peace. One of the most misunderstood concepts in Zen is emptiness. To many people, emptiness sounds bleak or depressing, like something is missing. But in Zen, emptiness isn't a lack, it's a kind of spaciousness. It's the idea that when you strip away mental clutter, assumptions, and attachments, you don't end up with nothing. You end up with openness, with freedom, with pure potential. Think of an empty bowl. It's not useless because it's empty. In fact, it's useful because it's empty. You can fill it with food, water, flowers, or nothing at all. Its emptiness is its gift. Zen applies this metaphor to the mind. A cluttered mind, like a bowl overflowing with noise, has no room for new experience. But a clear mind, an empty mind, is full of potential. It can hold anything, receive anything, respond with freshness and presence rather than reactivity and habit. This is where Zen minimalism shines. It's not about cleaning out your garage, though that may happen too. It's about creating mental space, about letting go of internal noise so you can actually hear your own breath, feel the warmth of a cup of tea, see the light shifting through your window without narrating it, judging it, or needing it to be different. It's a radical return to being instead of always becoming. So how do we begin? The foundation of Zen practice is meditation, often called Zazen or sitting meditation. It's incredibly simple but not always easy. You find a quiet space, sit comfortably with your back straight, and focus on your breath. Inhale, exhale. When your thoughts wander, which they will, you gently notice them and then return to the breath, over and over again. You're not trying to stop thoughts, You're not trying to achieve anything, you're just sitting, just being. At first, your mind will probably resist. It's used to movement, stimulation, distraction. But with practice, you start to notice a shift. You become more aware of your own inner patterns. You realize how often your mind races without reason, how many judgments and anxieties arise uninvited. But instead of being trapped in them, you learn to simply observe. You create space between stimulus and response, and in that space is where peace begins. This practice of mindfulness meditation isn't just spiritual fluff. It has real, measurable effects. Neuroscience has shown that consistent mindfulness practice can reduce stress, increase focus, improve emotional regulation, and even change the structure of the brain in ways that promote calm and clarity. It's one of the most accessible and effective tools for mental minimalism, and it requires no money, no special equipment, and no beliefs. Just your breath, your body, and your attention. Another powerful Zen practice is what's sometimes called everyday mindfulness. You bring the same presence from sitting meditation into your daily activities. Washing dishes, walking, eating, even folding laundry. These become opportunities to practice presence. Instead of rushing through them to get to the next thing, you slow down. You feel the texture of the plate, the rhythm of your feet, the temperature of the water. You allow yourself to be fully where you are. This kind of practice grounds you. It reduces the compulsive need to multitask or distract yourself, and it transforms ordinary moments into sources of peace. Zen also invites us to examine our attachment to thoughts. In the Zen tradition, thoughts are seen as clouds, temporary, ever-changing, and ultimately not who you are. You are the sky behind them. This idea can be incredibly liberating. When you stop identifying with every thought or feeling that arises, you gain distance. You learn to witness your experience rather than be consumed by it. And with that witnessing comes freedom. So how can you bring this into your own life? First, create a small space for daily Zen practice. It could be 5 minutes of silent sitting in the morning. No phone, no music, just stillness. Sit, breathe, notice. If thoughts come, let them pass like clouds. When you get distracted, return to your breath. That's the practice. It's not about being perfect, it's about returning. Second, choose one daily activity to perform mindfully. Brushing your teeth, drinking your morning coffee, walking to the store. Instead of doing it automatically, slow down. Pay attention. Notice the sounds, smells, sensations. Be where you are. Third, reduce noise. This could be literal noise, background TV, constant music, ambient chaos, or it could be informational noise, social media, headlines, to-do lists. Try carving out one quiet hour a day. No inputs, no multitasking, just stillness, however you define it. Finally, reflect on what you carry mentally. What are the grudges, the worries, the inner dialogues that play on repeat? What would happen if you didn't hold on so tightly to them? Zen doesn't ask you to suppress them. It asks you to see through them, to notice that they are not fixed truths. They are just weather, and like weather, they will pass. The actionable takeaway here is this. Peace doesn't come from adding more. It comes from subtracting what blocks it. And most of what blocks peace isn't out there. It's inside us. Zen helps us see that clearly, not by preaching, but by pointing. Pointing us back to the breath, to the body, to the moment. In a culture obsessed with doing, Zen reminds us to be. In a world addicted to noise, Zen offers silence. In a society driven by accumulation, Zen shows us the power of letting go. And when we combine Zen practice with minimalism, we begin to realize that simplicity is not the absence of richness, it is the presence of what is essential. And often what is essential is already here. We just need to clear away the clutter to see it. Philosophical minimalism isn't just a theory or something to admire from afar. It's a way of living that you can apply every single day. And when you combine the wisdom of Stoicism, Taoism, Epicureanism, and Zen Buddhism, what you get isn't a rigid system but a flexible, deeply human guide to simplifying your life in the most meaningful ways. Each of these philosophies contributes something essential. Stoicism teaches clarity and control. Taoism offers flow and harmony. Epicureanism reminds us to enjoy simple pleasures, and Zen grounds us in the present moment. Now that we've explored their core ideas, let's bring them together into a practical lifestyle you can actually live, starting today. Let's begin with physical minimalism. This is often the first area people think of when they hear the word minimalism, and for good reason. Our physical environments reflect and reinforce our mental state. When your space is cluttered, your mind feels chaotic. When your space is clear, your mind can rest. But philosophical minimalism doesn't mean throwing everything away for the sake of emptiness. It means curating your surroundings with intentionality. The Stoics would ask, is this essential? Marcus Aurelius posed this exact question in his writings, urging himself to let go of anything that did not directly serve his higher purpose. Taoism would ask, does this create harmony? Because in Taoist thought, objects that disrupt the natural flow of space also disrupt your energy. Epicurus would ask, does this bring true pleasure? Not excitement or status, but quiet joy. And Zen would ask, can you be fully present with this item? If the answer is no, it may be distracting more than serving. So when you go to declutter your home, don't just ask if something is useful or not. Ask deeper questions. Do I use this regularly? Does this item support the life I want to live? Am I keeping this out of fear, guilt, or habit? Would I buy this again today, knowing what I know now? You don't need to get rid of everything. In fact, don't approach this like a purge. Do it like a meditation, one drawer at a time, one shelf at a time. As you move through your space, ask yourself, what do I actually need to live well? You'll find that it's probably far less than you thought. Once your physical space begins to align with your values, move to digital minimalism, which may be even more important in today's world. We are bombarded with digital noise, messages, notifications, ads, headlines, scrolling feeds. It's constant, and it fragments our attention, clutters our thoughts, and wears down our sense of peace. From a philosophical standpoint, digital clutter is a modern form of attachment. It's our attempt to stay constantly connected, constantly stimulated, constantly affirmed. But the more input you allow in, the harder it becomes to hear your own voice. That's where digital minimalism, informed by philosophy, can change everything. The Stoics would suggest putting limits on how much information you consume, especially if it's outside your control. Don't waste your energy on things that don't concern your actions. Taoism would suggest disconnecting from digital noise to reconnect with the Tao, the flow of the present. Epicureanism would remind you that constant scrolling is rarely a source of genuine pleasure. It's more often a form of escape. And Zen would tell you to turn the phone off, sit still, and breathe. So how do you practice digital minimalism? Start with a digital audit. Look at every app on your phone and ask, does this serve a meaningful purpose? Unsubscribe from newsletters you never read. Turn off non-essential notifications. Move distracting apps off your home screen or delete them entirely. Choose specific times of day for checking email or social media instead of letting it happen constantly and unconsciously. Then replace digital noise with digital intention. Instead of opening your phone out of boredom, open it with purpose. To message a friend, learn something new, or create. Set time limits on social media. Use tools like website blockers during focused work periods. Create tech-free rituals, like no screens an hour before bed, or a digital Sabbath once a week where you disconnect completely. Even more powerful, schedule time for silence, a 10-minute walk without your phone, a meal eaten without distractions, a day without headphones. These small pauses reset your nervous system and reconnect you with the deeper rhythm of life. Next is mental minimalism, the practice of simplifying your inner world. This is where philosophy really shines, because all four traditions we've explored understand that peace is not about what's happening outside of us, it's about what's happening within. Start with Stoic journaling, a daily practice of reflection and clarity. In the morning, ask, what am I likely to face today? What is within my control? How can I respond with integrity? At night, reflect, what did I do well today? Where did I fall short? What can I improve tomorrow? This simple act of reflection creates clarity. It clears mental clutter. It helps you focus on what matters. It aligns your actions with your values. From the Zen perspective, practice mindful observation. Notice your thoughts without reacting to them. You don't need to fight your mind, just witness it. Throughout the day, pause and take a breath. Ask, where am I right now? What am I feeling without judgment? What is this moment asking of me? Even a 5-minute mindfulness session, just sitting and breathing, can create space between thoughts and reactions. And that space is where peace lives. Epicureanism contributes by reminding us to regularly check in with our desires. What are you chasing today? Is it truly necessary? Will it bring lasting joy? Or is it a distraction from what actually matters? The Epicurean mind is trained to want less but enjoy more. So take time weekly to list the simple pleasures you've experienced. A walk, a conversation, a quiet cup of tea. Reflect on how these moments required almost nothing, but gave so much. Taoism helps us release the need to control everything. Once a week, practice what I'd call radical surrender. Whatever happens that day, traffic, delays, disruptions, use it as training. Don't resist, flow, smile. Say to yourself, this is not a mistake, this is the way. You'll be amazed at how light you feel when you stop trying to force outcomes and start riding the wave of life. To bring all this together, here's a simple daily, weekly, monthly action plan. Daily. 5-10 minutes of silent mindfulness meditation, morning or evening. 5 minutes of Stoic journaling. Intentions in the morning, reflection at night. 1 mindful activity. A walk, a meal, or a task done slowly and intentionally. Limit phone use, no aimless scrolling. 1 act of conscious enjoyment, savoring a simple pleasure. Weekly. Digital detox day or half day, no social media, no unnecessary screens. 1 decluttering task, 1 drawer, shelf, or digital folder. Reflection session. Review your desires. What are you chasing? Is it essential? Reconnect with a friend or loved one. Monthly. Larger decluttering session, home, workspace, or digital systems. Day of silence or solitude, even partial, to reconnect with yourself. Reread or reflect on a key philosophical idea and see how you've applied it. Recommit to simplicity by reviewing your habits, commitments, and routines. Philosophical minimalism is not about becoming a monk or living in a tiny house unless that's what you want. It's about removing everything that distracts you from living with purpose, peace, and joy. It's about choosing less, but better. And in a world that constantly pressures you to do more, have more, be more, choosing less is one of the most powerful things you can do. Because ultimately, a minimalist life isn't an empty life. It's a full one, full of presence, meaning, freedom, and calm. And you don't have to wait to start living it. You can begin today with 1 breath, 1 drawer, 1 mindful moment. That's all it takes. The true power of philosophical minimalism is not found in what you give up, it's found in what you gain. When you begin to simplify your life with intention, drawing on timeless philosophical wisdom, you unlock benefits that are deeper, more lasting, and more liberating than anything consumer culture could ever offer. Philosophical minimalism isn't about restriction, it's about freedom, and the benefits are both emotional and practical, reaching every part of your life, from your mental health to your relationships to your sense of purpose and joy. One of the most immediate transformations people experience is greater mental clarity. We live in an age of noise, constant information, relentless schedules, and cluttered environments. The modern mind is overstimulated and undernourished. But when you start practicing minimalism with a philosophical backbone, letting go of what doesn't matter and focusing on what does, your mind begins to settle. It's like cleaning a dirty window. Suddenly you can see clearly again. Without the fog of excess decisions, distractions, and desires, you begin to notice what's been there all along, your own thoughts, your own priorities, your own values. And in that clarity, anxiety begins to fade. You're no longer being pulled in 20 directions at once. You're no longer weighed down by the pressure to keep up. You start breathing easier, physically and mentally. From that clarity comes another gift, improved productivity and creativity. When you're no longer distracted by constant noise, your focus sharpens. You stop wasting time on low-value tasks and start channeling your energy into what matters most. Whether you're writing, building, teaching, designing, or simply trying to live a more present life, minimalism clears the runway for deep work and deep thought. There's a reason why so many great thinkers and artists throughout history lived simply. They understood that clutter kills focus. They didn't hoard ideas, tools, or distractions. They created space so that their minds could stretch and explore. When you minimize distractions, your mind has room to wander, play, and innovate. And yet philosophical minimalism doesn't just make you more productive, it makes you happier. Not in a surface-level dopamine hit kind of way, but in a deep, grounded, contented kind of way. When you stop chasing after every shiny thing and start appreciating the richness of what you already have, life slows down in the best possible way. You become more present, you savor simple moments. You begin to realize that happiness doesn't come from adding more, but from wanting less. Epicurus understood this over 2,000 years ago. He taught that by simplifying our desires and learning to enjoy life's natural and necessary pleasures, friendship, food, reflection, we become truly free, and that freedom is the root of joy. Minimalism also transforms your relationships. When you no longer fill your time and space with meaningless noise, you create room for connection. When you stop performing for social media and start being fully present with the people in front of you, your relationships deepen. You start to value quality over quantity, not just with stuff, but with people too. And this is something all the great philosophies agree on. Relationships matter. Epicurus built his entire school around friendship. The Stoics believed in the brotherhood of mankind. Lao Tzu emphasized compassion as one of the three treasures. Zen Buddhism teaches that presence, true, undivided attention, is the most loving gift you can give. When you strip away everything that distracts you from connection, you're left with something real. History offers powerful examples of these transformations. Marcus Aurelius, despite being the emperor of Rome, constantly reminded himself to live simply. In his journal Meditations, he wrote about stripping away luxury, resisting temptation, and focusing only on what was essential for a virtuous life. He understood that peace couldn't be found in titles or wealth, it could only be found in inner clarity. He ruled one of the largest empires in history, yet he sought the humility and simplicity of a philosopher. Then there's Henry David Thoreau, the American writer and transcendentalist who famously retreated to a small cabin at Walden Pond to live deliberately. His goal wasn't to escape the world, but to better understand it by removing everything unnecessary. He wrote, "Our life is frittered away by detail. Simplify, simplify." Thoreau believed that in order to truly live, you had to reduce your life to its essence, not because life was meant to be hard, but because it was meant to be real. His experiment in simplicity was a rebellion against the noise of modern life and a return to what matters: nature, thought, solitude, and meaning. Lao Tzu, the father of Taoism, lived a life of quiet retreat and wrote only a short book, the Tao Te Ching. Yet his ideas have echoed for centuries. His teachings encouraged simplicity, stillness, and harmony with the natural world. He didn't measure life by accomplishment, wealth, or fame, but by how aligned a person was with the Tao, the natural flow of life. For Lao Tzu, peace came not from doing more, but from doing less, and doing it with intention and grace. And then there's Epicurus, who created a philosophical community based on the simple life. His garden was a place not of indulgence, but of quiet friendship, reflection, and joy in simple pleasures. He taught his followers that once your basic needs were met, happiness came not from acquiring more, but from desiring less. He understood that real pleasure wasn't about consumption, it was about contentment. But you don't need to be a historical figure to experience these benefits. Ordinary people are living these transformations every day. A busy professional who downsizes their home to reduce stress and create more family time. A teenager who deletes social media and rediscovers the joy of reading and walking outdoors. A young parent who replaces constant multitasking with focused, device-free time with their child. A creator who stops comparing themselves online and rededicates their energy to meaningful work. These are modern examples of philosophical minimalism in action, and they're just as profound as anything written in an ancient scroll. So what kind of transformation can you expect? You might find yourself waking up with less dread and more clarity. Your home will feel lighter, calmer, more breathable. Your time will feel more spacious. Your mind, once filled with racing thoughts, may start to slow down. You'll stop looking outside yourself for happiness and start finding it in simple, ordinary moments. You'll reconnect with your values, your purpose, your relationships. You'll stop living reactively and start living intentionally. You may even begin to feel something rare in modern life: enoughness. That sense that you are not lacking, that nothing is missing, that this moment, this breath, this life, just as it is whole. And that's the real power of philosophical minimalism. It doesn't just make your life look better, it makes your life feel better. Lighter, freer, more aligned with who you are and what you truly want. It doesn't promise perfection. It doesn't eliminate all struggle. But it gives you a compass, a way to navigate a noisy world without getting lost in it, a way to come home to yourself again and again. Throughout this journey, we explored 4 of the world's most profound philosophical traditions: Stoicism, Taoism, Epicureanism, and Zen Buddhism, and found a shared truth woven through them all. Less is not a sacrifice, it's a return. A return to clarity, to presence, to intentional living. In a world addicted to more, these traditions remind us that the answer isn't outside of us or in what we can accumulate, but within us, in what we can let go. Stoicism taught us to focus only on what's within our control and to remove the unnecessary from our lives, whether physical clutter, mental noise, or unhelpful desires. Taoism reminded us to stop forcing life and instead flow with it, to find peace in simplicity, patience, and harmony with nature. Epicureanism gently guided us to redefine pleasure, not as indulgence but as freedom from craving, and to appreciate the quiet joys that surround us each day. And Zen Buddhism showed us the beauty of emptiness, the transformative power of silence, and the radical peace that can be found in just being fully present. Together, these philosophies don't just help us declutter our homes, they help us declutter our minds, our habits, and our very way of living. They don't ask us to live with less for the sake of minimalism as a trend. They invite us to live with less so we can finally live with more. More clarity, more focus, more joy, and more connection to what truly matters. That's the real difference between philosophical minimalism and the surface-level kind that's often marketed to us today. This isn't about aesthetics. It's not about counting how many items you own or trying to look like you have your life together. It's about making space, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, for what genuinely supports your growth, your peace, and your purpose. It's not a rule book, it's a compass, and if you follow it, you may find that you already have everything you were looking for. You just couldn't see it under the weight of everything else. So here's a final question I want you to carry with you. What could you remove today, physically or mentally, to live a more meaningful life? Not tomorrow, not someday, today. It doesn't have to be drastic. Maybe it's deleting one app, letting go of one grudge, donating one item, saying no to one commitment that doesn't align with who you want to be. Small steps are powerful when they're taken in the right direction. And if you ever forget why this matters, remember these words from Lao Tzu. Be content with what you have. Rejoice in the way things are. When you realize nothing is lacking, the whole world belongs to you. You wake up and reach for your phone before your feet touch the floor. Notifications pull you into the day before you even remember your own thoughts. The mind barely gets a moment of silence before the world starts pouring itself into you. Clips, messages, headlines, noise. You scroll without thinking, consuming information you don't care about from people you don't know for reasons you can't explain. It feels normal because everyone else is doing it, but deep down, you can sense something is wrong. There's a heaviness in your mind, a fatigue you can't wrest away, a constant feeling that your attention is leaking out of you. This isn't weakness. This is overstimulation, your brain being hit with more input in a single morning than previous generations absorbed in an entire day. Most people think they lack discipline, focus, or motivation, but the truth is simpler. Their brain is overloaded. Your mind isn't broken. It's overwhelmed. It was never built for endless novelty, flashing screens, and the pressure to absorb more than you can process. Dopamine isn't the problem. The rate at which you force your brain to release it is. Every tiny piece of content gives a small spike. Every spike teaches your mind to expect more, and the more you expect, the less you can tolerate silence, boredom, or stillness. Your attention gets fragmented into tiny pieces, scattered across 1,000 micro-stimulations. You try to focus, but your brain is still searching for the next quick hit, the next notification, the next distraction. This is not random, this is a loop, and your mind is trapped in it. The most dangerous part is that you don't notice it happening. It feels harmless because every moment of consumption is small. A video here, a message there, a scroll without intention, seconds at a time. But every one of those seconds teaches your brain the same lesson. Stay distracted, stay stimulated. Don't stop, don't slow down, don't be still. Over time, this becomes a mental trance, the consumption trance, where your mind is constantly busy, constantly active, constantly reacting, but never actually thinking. You're awake, but not present, alert, but not aware. You're drowning, not in information, but in distraction. The more you consume, the further you drift from yourself. What makes this crisis so dangerous is that it steals the one thing you need to build a real life: control over your own attention. Without attention, you can't create, reflect, or make meaningful decisions. You can't build discipline or stay focused long enough to change your life. You're not choosing your actions anymore. Algorithms are choosing them for you. And the longer you live this way, the harder it becomes to return to yourself. But the truth is that escape isn't impossible. There are habits that break the loop, habits that interrupt the trance, habits that force your brain to stop consuming. They're not gentle, they're not comfortable, but they work, brutally and instantly. There is a point where the brain becomes so flooded with stimulation that it forgets how to simply exist. Most people don't realize how overstimulated they are until the moment they try to sit quietly. The second everything stops, the scrolling, the noise, the notifications, something strange happens. They feel uncomfortable, restless, anxious. Their mind starts pulling at them like a child needing attention. They want to stand up, check their phone, fiddle with something, look at a screen. They can't bear the absence of input because their brain has been trained to expect constant entertainment, constant novelty, constant dopamine. This is why the stillness block is so powerful. It interrupts that training completely. The stillness block is simple. For 10 to 20 minutes each day, you sit in absolute silence. No phone, no music, no background noise, no stimulation of any kind, just you, your breathing, and your mind. It sounds easy when you hear it, but the moment you try it, you realize how deeply you depend on consumption to distract you from yourself. The first time you attempt stillness, your brain will fight you. It will try to escape, to wander, to beg for stimulation. You'll feel a rush of thoughts. You'll feel impulses to grab your phone reflexively, even though you have nothing to check. You may even feel bored, a feeling modern people almost never experience anymore. That discomfort isn't failure. It's the proof that your brain has been conditioned to run away from silence. Silence is not empty. Silence is where the mind resets. Silence is where the nervous system recalibrates. Silence is where thoughts become clear. But when your brain is used to constant input, silence feels threatening. It feels like withdrawal because in a very real way, it is. You're taking away the rewards your brain has been trained to expect. This is why the first few sessions of stillness can feel strange. The discomfort is your brain detoxing from overstimulation. The fog begins to lift, but not without resistance. And yet, if you stay with the discomfort, without escaping, without grabbing your phone, without seeking stimulation, something powerful happens. Your brain begins to adapt. Neurologically, stillness resets dopamine levels. When you're constantly consuming, your dopamine spikes in tiny bursts all day long. Each spike teaches your brain to expect more stimulation, but when you sit still, those spikes stop. The brain has no choice but to begin recalibrating. The receptors stabilize, the reward system quiets down. Instead of craving micro hits of novelty, the brain settles into a more natural rhythm. This brings a calmness that many people haven't felt in years, a clarity that comes only when the mind finally stops chasing stimulation. Stillness isn't just a break from consuming, it's a full neurological reset. But the power of the stillness block is not only scientific. There's a philosophical dimension to silence that ancient traditions understood long before modern neuroscience existed. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." And he wrote this while ruling an empire, surrounded by political noise, war, responsibility, and constant demands. He knew that real strength comes from the ability to return to oneself, to sit with the mind and not be controlled by it. Stillness is not laziness. Stillness is discipline. Stillness is mastery. In Zen Buddhism, there is a saying, "Sit and let everything settle." They compare the mind to a jar of muddy water. When you keep shaking it, meaning when you keep consuming, scrolling, reacting. The water stays cloudy. Nothing is clear. But when you stop shaking it and let it sit, the dirt settles to the bottom. Clarity returns. Stillness is the act of letting the dirt settle. It is the moment when your thoughts stop spinning wildly and begin to organize themselves naturally. Zen monks train this for years because it is the foundation of calm awareness. You don't need to be a monk, but you do need to give your mind time to settle. Taoism also speaks of stillness as a source of strength. The Tao Te Ching says, "To the mind that is still, the whole universe surrenders." This doesn't mean the world suddenly becomes easy. It means when the mind stops racing, problems become smaller, clearer, and easier to face. Noise exaggerates everything. Silence puts everything back in proportion. Taoism teaches that nature moves effortlessly, not through force but through calm, steady flow. Stillness helps you reconnect with that natural state, the state where your mind becomes an ally instead of an enemy. After a week of daily stillness, most people notice a shift. Their thoughts become less frantic, their impulses weaken, they become more aware of how often they reach for their phone without reason. Their inner world becomes quieter. They begin to think more deeply, not just reactively. Small problems feel less overwhelming. They become more present, more observant, more grounded. This isn't spiritual nonsense. It's what happens when the brain is allowed to return to its natural rhythm. You are built for silence. You are wired for moments of calm. But you cannot access that calm if you never disconnect from input. Stillness also reveals something most people never face, what's actually happening inside their mind. When you sit quietly, thoughts you've been avoiding begin to rise. You remember tasks you've ignored, emotions you haven't processed, problems you've been pushing aside. This is why people fear silence. It forces them to confront the truth they've been running from. But confronting these thoughts isn't punishment, it's liberation. You cannot fix what you refuse to face. Stillness gives you the opportunity to face it gently, without distraction. Even boredom becomes powerful here. Boredom is not a sign of emptiness. It is the first layer of the mind settling. It means your brain has run out of stimulation to cling to. After boredom comes clarity. After clarity comes insight. And after insight comes focus. Stillness is the bridge that connects a chaotic mind to a disciplined one. You cannot build discipline if you cannot sit with your own thoughts. You cannot build focus if you cannot endure 10 minutes without stimulation. Stillness is the training ground for attention, and the beauty is, anyone can do it. You don't need a special environment, you don't need equipment, you don't need knowledge or experience. You just need the courage to stop. You need the willingness to sit with yourself. 10 minutes a day is enough to begin rewiring your brain. 20 minutes accelerates the process dramatically. Over time, the stillness becomes something you crave, not because it stimulates you, but because it restores you. It becomes the calm center you return to when the world becomes loud. There is a point where you realize the stillness block is more than a habit. It's a reset button for your entire life. Once your brain learns how to exist without constant input, everything becomes easier. Focus becomes easier. Thinking becomes easier. Reading becomes easier. Creating becomes easier. Even your emotions become easier to understand. The mind needs space to organize itself, and stillness gives it that space. You may not realize it now, but the ability to sit quietly for 10 minutes is one of the purest forms of strength. It means you are no longer controlled by impulses. It means you are no longer afraid of your own thoughts. It means your attention belongs to you again. And once you regain control over your attention, you regain control over your life. Stillness forces your brain to stop consuming because it removes every path of escape. For the first time in perhaps years, the mind is alone with itself. No input, no stimulation, no distraction, just truth, just presence, just you. And ironically, it's in that empty space, the silence you once feared, that your mind finally begins to heal. This is the reset. This is the break in the loop. This is the first habit that gives you your brain back. Most people don't realize that the reason they feel mentally scattered isn't because their life is complicated, but because their brain is constantly switching between tasks. Modern life teaches you to do everything at once: text while you eat, scroll while you watch something, jump between apps, check notifications while you work, respond to messages while you walk. None of these seem harmful in the moment, but they fragment your attention into dozens of tiny pieces. You're never fully present in anything you're doing, and you rarely finish a task with full clarity. What feels like staying busy is actually just micro-consumption. Every switch is a small dose of novelty, and every dose reinforces the same addiction: stimulation over focus. Multitasking sounds impressive, but it's one of the most damaging habits for the human mind. The brain cannot do two demanding tasks at the same time. What it actually does is rapidly switch back and forth, which feels fast but is extremely inefficient. Each switch creates a trail of leftover thoughts and unfinished neural pathways, what psychologists call attention residue. It means every time you shift from task A to task B, part of your mind stays stuck in task A, draining your energy, reducing your clarity, and lowering your performance. After enough switches, your mind becomes foggy, tired, and easily overwhelmed. You don't feel scattered because your life is chaotic. You feel scattered because your brain is constantly being pulled in multiple directions. This is why single tasking is such a powerful habit. It does the opposite of what multitasking does. Instead of scattering your mind, it unifies it. Instead of fragmenting your thoughts, it brings them into one clear line. When you focus on one task at a time, your mind enters a deeper state of concentration. The distraction, noise, and background cravings for stimulation begin to fade. The brain uses less energy yet becomes far more effective. The feeling is calm but powerful, like suddenly remembering what it feels like to actually think. You begin to realize how rare true focus has become in your daily life. Think about the last time you did something with full attention. No phone nearby, no music, no switching, just doing one thing. Maybe it was writing, maybe cleaning, maybe reading, maybe even walking. In those moments, time feels different. You're not rushing. You're not overstimulated. There's a steady rhythm, a quiet immersion. That's the natural state of the brain. The mind was designed for deep, singular engagement. Single tasking is not about going slow. It's about going deep. And depth is where all meaningful work happens. The reason multitasking is addictive is because each switch gives a tiny burst of dopamine. The brain sees novelty and thinks it's important. It rewards you for checking, switching, reopening apps, glancing at your phone. Over time, the brain becomes conditioned to look for the next micro hit of stimulation. This is why you feel the urge to check your phone even when nothing is happening. This is why you open new tabs without thinking. Why you jump between tasks before finishing them. It's not lack of discipline. It's a neurological loop built by repetition. Single tasking breaks that loop by starving the brain of unnecessary novelty. When you stop jumping between tasks, the brain stops expecting constant stimulation. It relearns how to settle into deeper focus. Attention residue is what keeps the mind feeling cluttered throughout the day. For example, imagine you're working on something and a notification pops up. Even if you only glance at it for 2 seconds, part of your attention stays stuck on it. Your mind opens a mental thread, a kind of unfinished tab. When you return to your original task, you're not coming back to it cleanly. You're coming back with residue, tiny pieces of your mind still processing the interruption. Multiply this by dozens or hundreds of switches per day, and the mental clutter becomes overwhelming. Multitasking drains you not because the tasks are hard, but because the constant shifting never gives your mind time to reset. Single tasking eliminates residue. When you are fully immersed in one task, the brain doesn't need to divide itself. There are no leftover fragments pulling your attention backward. You finish tasks faster. You make fewer mistakes. You remember things more clearly. You feel less mentally tired even after hours of work. Your mind becomes sharper, calmer, and more resilient. This is how single tasking rebuilds your brain, by returning it to the rhythm it was designed for. One of the biggest consequences of multitasking is that it makes boredom intolerable. When your brain gets used to switching constantly, it becomes addicted to the dopamine spikes that novelty brings. When there's no novelty, the brain becomes restless. This is why people instinctively reach for their phones at the smallest hint of silence. Single tasking helps reverse this. By training the mind to stay with one task, even when it's not exciting, you rebuild your boredom tolerance. And boredom tolerance is one of the most underrated forms of mental strength. People who cannot endure boredom cannot endure silence, cannot endure focus, and cannot endure the discomfort of growth. Single tasking strengthens all of these abilities. There's also a deeper psychological impact. When you multitask, you never fully commit to anything. You're always halfway present, half working, half scrolling, half listening, half thinking about something else. Over time, this creates a subtle sense of emptiness, a feeling that you're drifting through tasks without truly engaging with them. Single tasking reverses that emptiness. It brings intention back into your actions. When you give something your full attention, you feel more grounded, more connected, more capable. You begin valuing the task in front of you, not as something to rush through, but as something to complete fully. Single tasking also trains your brain to stop seeking novelty. When you focus on one thing for extended periods, the brain adapts. It stops craving quick rewards and starts valuing sustained effort. You build a kind of mental endurance that makes everything easier. Working, reading, exercising, learning, conversations, even resting. The brain becomes calmer because it's no longer chasing stimulation like a hungry animal. It settles, it stabilizes, and it becomes more disciplined. To build single tasking into your life, you need simple, consistent exercises. One exercise is the focus block. Choose one task, set a timer for 25-30 minutes, and commit to doing nothing else until the timer ends. No checking your phone, no switching, no responding to distractions. If your mind wanders, gently bring it back. Another exercise is the one-tab rule. When working, only allow one browser tab open at a time. This forces you to stay on one thing instead of jumping around. A third exercise is the mono-action habit. Whenever you're doing something, eating, walking, cleaning, do only that. No videos, no music, no background scroll, just the task. At first it may feel strange or slow, but within a few days, you'll notice your thoughts becoming clearer. You'll finish tasks faster. You'll feel less mentally drained. Your attention will feel stronger, like a muscle that's finally being used the right way. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. Your brain stops craving chaos and starts preferring depth. You begin to enjoy the feeling of being fully immersed. You begin to appreciate the calmness that single tasking brings. The real magic of single tasking is not that it makes you more productive. It's that it makes you more present. You stop rushing mindlessly through your day. You stop splitting your mind into pieces. You stop being controlled by stimulation. You gain something most people have lost: control over your own attention. And once your attention belongs to you again, every part of your life becomes easier to manage. You think better. You feel better. You make better decisions. You live with more clarity. Single tasking is not merely a technique. It is a way of reclaiming your mind from the chaos of modern stimulation. It is a declaration that your attention is valuable, your focus is sacred, and your mind is not designed to be pulled in 1,000 directions. When you train yourself to focus on one thing at a time, you're not just building discipline, you're rebuilding your brain from the inside out. There is a level of mental clarity most people will never experience in their entire lives, not because it's difficult to find, but because it requires something modern humans are terrified of: A full day without input, not an hour, not a half day, not a morning without your phone, an entire 24 hours with absolutely no digital stimulation, no YouTube, no social media, no news, no podcasts, no audiobooks, no background videos, no endless scrolling, no screens feeding you information. For one full day, the inflow stops completely. Your mind is no longer receiving new content. It is left alone with its own thoughts for the first time in years. Most people cannot imagine going 24 hours without input because the thought alone exposes how dependent their minds have become. The brain has been trained to rely on constant stimulation, a steady drip of novelty, distraction, entertainment, noise, and opinions. The instant you remove this stream, the mind panics. It suddenly has nothing to cling to, nothing to chew on, nothing to drown in. The initial discomfort is intense because the mind is going through withdrawal. It's like taking sugar away from someone who's been consuming it every day. The body doesn't react with calmness, it reacts with urgency. This is exactly why the 24-hour input fast works. It shocks the system. It cuts off the dopamine supply. It forces the mind to face itself, not the next video, not the next swipe, not the next headline. And this shock is what breaks the consumption trance. You begin to realize how deeply addicted you were, not to content itself, but to never being alone with your thoughts. The fast exposes the dependency, and once it's exposed, you can finally take control of it. During the first couple of hours of an input fast, the mind reaches for its habitual coping mechanisms. You'll instinctively reach for your phone, even though there's nothing to check. You'll think about opening apps you promised not to use. You'll look for excuses, just one video, just one quick scroll. These impulses rise automatically because your brain is expecting its usual dopamine hits. When you deny these impulses, the brain becomes restless. You may feel bored, irritated, uneasy, or strangely uncomfortable. This is not a failure, it's the detox beginning. After the initial discomfort, something begins to shift. The mind gradually loses its urge for constant stimulation. The craving fades. The noise inside your head begins to quiet down. What replaces it is awareness of your thoughts, your emotions, your surroundings. You start noticing things you normally ignore, the sound of your footsteps, the feeling of air on your skin, the texture of nature, the presence of silence. What was once overwhelming becomes refreshing. There is a moment, sometimes within hours, sometimes later in the day, when you realize your mind is actually settling. The restlessness weakens, the urge to consume fades, the mental fog begins to lift. This is the dopamine reset at work. When you remove all external input for an extended period, the brain recalibrates its reward system. Instead of expecting constant novelty, it begins to adjust to the absence of it. Dopamine receptors stabilize. They become sensitive again. You begin to experience satisfaction from simple things. Walking, thinking, writing, noticing your breath, sitting quietly. The natural rewards of life become meaningful again because the artificial spikes of digital stimulation are no longer overpowering them. People who complete a full 24-hour input fast often describe the same experience. I didn't realize how loud my mind had become until the noise stopped. And the noise isn't just digital noise, it's the internal noise that digital stimulation creates. The buzzing thoughts, the racing mind, the scattered attention, the constant urge to check something, the inability to stay still. When the input stops, the internal noise begins to dissolve, and what remains is something many people haven't felt in a long time: mental space. This mental space is where real thinking happens, not reactive thinking, not shallow thinking, not fragmented thoughts. Real thinking, the kind you can't access when your mind is constantly being interrupted by information. When you remove external input, your mind finally has the room to process your life, your direction, your decisions, your problems, your dreams. Suddenly, the thoughts you've been avoiding for months or even years start rising to the surface. The mind begins organizing itself. You begin to understand things that felt confusing before. You see patterns you missed. You notice truths you've ignored. This is the real power of the input fast. It gives you back your inner world. It reconnects you to your own thoughts, not the thoughts of 1,000 strangers. You stop absorbing other people's voices, opinions, and emotions, and you begin hearing your own voice again. In a world saturated with input, your own mind becomes the last place you ever visit. The input fast forces you to return to it. A full day without content also reveals how much of your life is consumed passively. Most people are not tired from doing too much. They're tired from consuming too much. Their brain is exhausted from jumping between videos, conversations, notifications, and digital noise. They confuse rest with numbing themselves. They mistake distraction for relaxation. But during an input fast, you learn the difference. Real rest feels quiet, steady, peaceful. Consumption feels loud, fast, and draining. Once you feel the contrast, it's impossible to unsee. Throughout the day, your activities shift from passive consumption to active presence. You walk without headphones. You sit without checking anything. You let your eyes rest on the world around you. You pay attention to your breathing, your posture, your thoughts. You might write in a notebook just to release thoughts that have been stuck in your mind. You might take a long walk, not to exercise, but to think. You might simply sit somewhere and observe the world. These activities sound simple, even boring, but when the mind is detoxing from stimulation, they become powerful tools for clarity. As the day goes on, many people experience a sense of calm they haven't felt in years. There is no urgency, no rush, no compulsion to check anything, no feeling that you're missing out. You become grounded. The absence of input becomes comforting instead of uncomfortable. You begin to realize that life feels slower, clearer, and more meaningful when you're not constantly escaping from it. What surprises most people is how much time suddenly appears. A day without input feels longer, but not in a bad way. It feels spacious. It feels like you're living inside time instead of racing through it. You notice how much of your day is usually filled with content that adds nothing to your life. Without it, you feel lighter. You feel more in control, and without realizing it, you start enjoying the simplicity of doing nothing. By the end of the 24 hours, something shifts inside you. The mind feels clean, almost like a mental reboot. The constant cravings for distraction weaken significantly. The compulsive checking stops. Your thoughts feel sharper, deeper, more intentional. You feel more connected to yourself. The dopamine reset has taken effect. And for many people, this one day becomes a turning point. They realize they don't need constant input. They realize silence is not scary. They realize their mind works better when it's not drowned in noise. This habit is simple, but it is not easy. It forces you to confront your own mental habits and addictions. It requires patience, discipline, and honesty. But it is incredibly powerful. This one habit alone can give you your mind back. It can restore your ability to focus, to think, to feel, to reflect, to live. It can break the cycle of consumption in a single day. It can reset your brain in a way nothing else can. This is not about rejecting technology or living like a monk. It's about giving yourself one day, just one, to remember what it feels like to be fully human again, to exist without constant stimulation, to reconnect with your own thoughts, to break the addiction to consumption. The 24-hour input fast is a reset button for your entire mental system, a day where your mind finally gets the silence it's been begging for. There's a moment after stillness, after silence, after you stop consuming, where your mind becomes open in a way that feels unfamiliar. It's a space most people never enter because they go right back to their phones the second the quiet ends. But this moment is the doorway to transformation. The mind isn't cluttered, it isn't overwhelmed, it isn't running from anything. It's simply ready. And what you do in that space determines whether you remain a consumer or become something more. The creator ritual begins here. It's not about talent. It's not about perfection. It's not even about producing great work. It's about shifting your identity from someone who absorbs information to someone who generates it. The rule is simple. After any moment of stillness, you create. It could be one page of writing, one paragraph of reflection, or one drawing, one idea, one improvement to your life or environment, one step toward a goal. It doesn't matter what it is. It only matters that you produce something, anything, that didn't exist before. Creation is the antidote to consumption because it forces your brain into a completely different mode. Consumption is passive. Creation is active. Consumption pulls your attention outward. Creation pulls your attention inward. Consumption scatters your mind. Creation organizes it. The shift from absorbing to producing is not just behavioral, it's neurological. When you create, your brain forms new pathways. You switch from dopamine-driven novelty seeking to focus-driven engagement. You begin training the mind to build rather than escape. The human brain is wired for agency. Agency means you choose your actions instead of reacting to whatever stimulation appears in front of you. When you sit down and decide to create something, even something tiny, you reclaim agency from the digital world. You're no longer drifting through content. You're directing your energy towards something intentional. Even the smallest act of creation sends a powerful message to your subconscious: I am in control. Agency is one of the most powerful psychological forces on earth. People feel depressed, anxious, or lost not because their lives are empty, but because they feel powerless. They feel like life is happening to them instead of being shaped by them. Creation dissolves that powerlessness. Every act of creation, no matter how small, is a way of saying, I can shape my reality. That is the beginning of self-respect. That is the beginning of confidence. That is the beginning of change. Creation also builds discipline in a way that feels natural, not forced. When you create consistently, you train your mind to commit, to focus, to stay with a task even when it's not easy. Discipline is not formed through punishment or guilt. It's formed through repetition of meaningful action. When you show yourself that you can produce something even on the days when you don't feel like it, your brain begins to trust you. Discipline isn't about forcing yourself, it's about proving to yourself that you keep your own promises. The creator ritual becomes a daily promise to step into your potential. Meaning is another byproduct of creation. People search for meaning in books, quotes, movies, endless videos, but meaning is not found in consumption. Meaning is built through creation. When you write something, you understand your thoughts more deeply. When you draw something, you see the world differently. When you generate ideas, you begin to understand what matters to you. When you improve something in your environment or your life, you experience direct influence over your world. Creation gives life weight. It gives your days direction. It takes the abstract idea of purpose and turns it into something you can see and feel. Creation also improves focus. The brain can only concentrate deeply when it is doing something active. When you create, your mind enters a state of engagement that consumption can never give you. This is why, after creating, even for 5 minutes, you often feel more awake, more present, more centered. The brain thrives on tasks that require attention and effort. Creation gives it that. It's like sharpening a dull blade. Every moment you spend producing instead of consuming sharpens your ability to think clearly. The creator ritual is deceptively simple. Most people underestimate the power of tiny acts of creation because they think change requires grand gestures. They think transformation comes from massive goals, all-or-nothing plans, or perfect conditions. But identity shifts begin with small, consistent actions. When you write a single paragraph, you're becoming a writer. When you sketch even one line, you're becoming an artist. When you generate one idea, you're becoming a thinker. When you improve one thing in your environment, you're becoming a responsible, intentional human being. You don't wait to become a creator, you become one through repetition. To integrate the ritual into your daily life, pair it with moments of stillness. After 10 minutes of silence, your mind will feel open. Don't waste that openness by going back to consumption. Fill it with something you create. If you're unsure what to write, simply write about what's in your mind. If you don't know what to draw, sketch a simple shape or scene. If you don't know what idea to generate, reflect on something that matters to you. If you don't know what to improve, look around your space and change one thing, organize, adjust, clean, fix. Creation doesn't need to be artistic, it simply needs to be intentional. Over time, the ritual becomes addictive in the best way possible. You begin craving the clarity that creation brings. You begin respecting the version of yourself who produces instead of consumes. You begin to see your own thoughts as valuable. Something shifts internally. You no longer look at the world as a spectator. You look at it as someone capable of contributing. You begin seeing potential everywhere. Ideas, projects, improvements, expressions. Consumption feels empty. Creation feels alive. One of the most profound transformations happens inside your identity. Every time you create, you are sending a message to your unconscious mind. I am someone who builds. I am someone who shapes. I am someone who makes things real. Over time, this becomes who you are. Identity follows action, not the other way around. You don't wait to feel like a creator, you act like one, and your mind adapts. The creator ritual also breaks the consumption habit because it fills the space that consumption once occupied. When your mind is trained to produce after stillness, you no longer reach for your phone by default. You no longer crave entertainment as your first response to boredom. Instead, your brain begins asking, what can I make? What can I improve? What can I express? This shift is massive. It changes your relationship with time, with attention, with energy. You no longer feel trapped in the cycle of consuming. You feel empowered to contribute. Creation rewires the brain because it engages the parts responsible for problem solving, patience, and intentional thinking. These parts weaken when all you do is consume. But when you create, even in tiny amounts, they strengthen. They begin taking up more space in your mental life. You become more thoughtful, more observant, more inventive. You stop running from your thoughts and begin shaping them. There is a truth most people never realize. You kill consumption by becoming someone who produces, not by fighting your urges, not by forcing discipline through guilt, not by avoiding your phone with sheer willpower, but by building a life where creation feels fulfilling and consumption feels empty. The creator ritual is your doorway into that life. It's the beginning of becoming someone who lives intentionally instead of reactively. It's the shift from passive to active, from drifting to directing, from consuming life to building it. Once you step into the role of a creator, even in the smallest ways, consumption loses its power. You begin to understand that your mind was never meant to be filled endlessly. It was meant to be expressed. Most people underestimate how much their environment controls their behavior. They think their actions come from willpower or motivation, but in reality, their surroundings shape their habits far more than their intentions do. Every time you reach for your phone without thinking, every time you open a social media app out of reflex, every time you sit down to work and instantly get distracted, you're not failing because you're weak. You're failing because your environment is designed to make you fail. The world around you is filled with triggers, cues, reminders, and temptations that pull you back into the consumption loop. Until you remove those traps, every mental change you try to make will be 10 times harder. The environment purge is about taking control of the physical and digital spaces that shape your daily behavior. It's not just about being organized or having a clean desk. It's about removing the invisible hooks that drag your attention backward. Your phone is the biggest hook of all. It's not evil, but it's engineered for distraction. Even when it's off, even when it's silent, even when you're not using it, the mere presence of your phone nearby changes the way your brain works. Studies show that when a phone is within reach, even face down, your mind becomes partially preoccupied. A part of your attention stays on it, waiting for something to happen. This silent tug is enough to weaken your focus. This is why one of the core steps in an environment purge is physically moving your phone away from where you think. If you're writing, leave it in another room. If you're working, put it in a drawer or behind you. If you're trying to focus deeply, put it somewhere you can't see it. Out of sight truly does mean out of mind. When your phone is not visible, your brain stops expecting stimulation. When it's out of reach, the automatic reflex of grabbing it disappears. This one change can completely shift the quality of your focus. But the phone is only one piece of the puzzle. Your digital environment is an entire world of temptation, and most people never bother to clean it. The apps you use daily, the ones you open mindlessly, are often the greatest source of mental chaos. Deleting these apps might feel extreme at first, but it's one of the fastest ways to free your attention. If something keeps pulling you into consumption, remove it entirely. Delete the apps you waste the most time on. Remove shortcuts from your home screen. Uninstall unnecessary notifications. Your digital world should serve you, not enslave you. Blocking websites is another part of the purge. If there are sites you visit without thinking, news feeds, social media, entertainment, endless scrolling platforms, use blockers to cut access during work or thinking hours. It's not about restricting yourself forever. It's about building an environment where the path of least resistance leads to clarity, not distraction. When the easiest option is to think, write, create, or act, not to consume, you begin forming habits that support who you want to become. Your physical environment matters just as much. A cluttered room or workspace is a silent form of overstimulation. Every object in your field of vision makes a demand on your mind. Every unorganized corner steals a fragment of your attention. When your environment is messy, your thoughts become messy. When your desk is chaotic, so is your mental state. Cleaning your environment is not about aesthetics, it's about freeing cognitive space. A clean desk means fewer distractions, fewer mental hooks, and a clearer place to direct your attention. This doesn't mean you need a minimalist, empty room. It means your environment should reflect the version of yourself you want to be. If you want to be focused, your workspace should support focus. If you want to be creative, your surroundings should invite creativity. If you want to feel calm, your environment should not overwhelm your senses. Most people never redesign their environment around their goals. They try to use self-control to fight against a world built to distract them. That's why they always lose. An environment purge also means reducing the amount of unnecessary stimulation in your everyday life. Your brain has a limited capacity to process input. The more stimulation you surround yourself with, the more overloaded you become. This applies to sound, visuals, clutter, movement, and even people. A noisy room makes it hard to think. A space filled with constant motion makes it hard to stay still. An environment filled with notifications, sounds, and background noise makes it almost impossible to feel grounded. Reducing stimulation allows your brain to breathe. When the world around you quiets down, your inner world becomes sharper. One of the most powerful parts of the environment purge is the idea that your environment is always training you. Every room you sit in is teaching you a habit. Every object within reach is pushing you toward or away from the life you want. If your phone is near you, your brain is being trained to reach for it. If your desk is messy, your brain is being trained to accept disorder. If your room is filled with distractions, your brain is being trained to avoid deep focus. If your environment is chaotic, your mind becomes chaotic too. But the reverse is also true. A clean, intentional space trains your brain to think clearly. A desk with only essential tools trains your mind to work deeply. A space free from digital noise trains your attention to stay grounded. The environment is not neutral. It is shaping you constantly. When you remove temptations from your environment, you stop relying on willpower. Willpower is fragile. It fades throughout the day, it breaks under stress, it collapses under overwhelm, but an environment that supports focus does not require effort. It makes discipline natural, it makes distraction difficult, it turns the path toward clarity into the easiest path. This is how you create consistency, not by forcing yourself to fight temptation, but by removing temptation altogether. The more you purge your environment, the more you realize how much of your behavior was never really yours. You weren't choosing to scroll, your environment was triggering it. You weren't choosing to procrastinate, your workspace made it easy. You weren't choosing to distract yourself, your digital world was designed to hijack your attention. When you remove these triggers, you start making real choices again. You start living intentionally. The purge doesn't need to be drastic. You don't have to throw everything away or become a minimalist monk. You just need to remove the things that pull you away from the person you're trying to become. Clean your desk, organize your room, delete distracting apps, move your phone, block websites, reduce unnecessary stimulation. Set up your environment so that clarity feels natural and consumption feels distant. Once you complete the purge, something surprising happens. You feel lighter, the mental load decreases, the urge to consume fades. You feel more in control of your day, your thoughts move more freely, you become more aware. Productivity becomes less forced and more natural. There is a psychological relief that comes from not having to fight against your environment anymore. Instead of your surroundings draining you, they begin supporting you. The environment purge is not just the removal of clutter, it is the removal of friction. It is the removal of invisible obstacles that drain your attention and energy. It is the design of a life where the environment works with you, not against you. And once you remove the temptations that used to trap you, your ability to practice the other habits, stillness, single tasking, creation, becomes 10 times stronger. They stop being uphill battles. They become effortless. This is why the environment purge is not optional. It is essential. Without it, every change you try to make is weakened. With it, every change becomes easier. Your environment is training you every day. The only question is whether it's training you to become distracted or disciplined, chaotic or calm, a consumer or a creator. Choose what your environment trains you to become. Life moves faster than ever for most people. Phones buzz constantly with notifications, pulling attention in every direction. Emails from work, messages from friends, news alerts about the world, social media updates showing everyone else's highlights. Schedules overflow with meetings, deadlines, errands, and obligations that never seem to end. Mornings start with rushing out the door, days fill with multitasking just to keep up, and evenings collapse into exhausted scrolling before bed. This endless hurry leads to widespread burnout. Bodies feel tired all the time, minds race even during rest, and a deep sense of emptiness grows despite achieving more tasks than previous generations ever could. People chase productivity, thinking it will bring freedom and satisfaction, but instead it traps them in a cycle of stress and dissatisfaction. Technology was supposed to change all that. Smartphones, apps, fast internet, and automation promise to save time and make life easier, handle routine work quickly, connect instantly across distances, deliver anything needed with a tap. Yet the opposite happened. These tools filled every spare moment with more demands, turning potential free time into endless distraction and comparison. What started as convenience became exhaustion, because the more efficient we get, the more we pile on, always reaching for the next thing without pausing to enjoy what's already here. Slow living offers a way out. It's a deliberate choice to rebel against this constant haste. Instead of speeding up to match the world's pace, it means stepping back on purpose, focusing on what truly matters, and allowing experiences to unfold naturally. This idea isn't new or trendy. It comes straight from ancient philosophy, where great thinkers saw the dangers of rush long before modern devices existed. They built ways of life around calm, simplicity, and depth, proving that true richness comes from presence, not pace. We'll draw from the wisdom of Epicurus, who taught finding joy in simple things without endless wanting, Seneca, who warned about wasting life on trivial hurry, Lao Tzu, who showed the strength in flowing effortlessly like nature, and Aristotle, who placed highest value on balanced contemplation over frantic action. Together, their ideas form a practical guide to building a calmer, richer life at a time when many feel ready for change after years of acceleration. Slow living, at its heart, is about choosing what truly matters in each moment instead of letting the clock or other people decide for you. It means putting presence first, really noticing the taste of your coffee, the sound of rain, the way your child laughs, or the feeling of your own breath, rather than racing to the next thing. It favors quality over quantity, one deep conversation instead of 10 shallow ones, one well-cooked meal instead of 3 rushed takeouts, 1 hour fully focused instead of 4 hours half distracted. Depth beats distraction every time. When you live slowly, you stop treating life like a checklist and start treating it like a story you actually want to be inside. You give experiences the space they need to become memories instead of just events that flash by and disappear. A lot of people hear slow and immediately think it means doing nothing, lying on the couch all day, or giving up on goals. That's the first big misunderstanding. Slow living has nothing to do with laziness. Laziness is avoiding effort because you don't care. Slow living is choosing effort carefully because you care a lot. It's the opposite of apathy. It's love with better priorities. The same person who used to answer work emails at 11 p.m. can become the person who closes the laptop at 6 p.m., cooks dinner without headphones, and still moves their biggest dreams forward, just more steadily and with less self-destruction. The energy that used to be scattered across 100 unimportant things gets poured into the few things that actually shape a good life. Another common myth is that slow living is anti-ambition, that if you slow down you'll fall behind and miss out on success. That fear makes sense in a world that measures worth by how packed your calendar looks. But ambition and speed are not the same thing. A marathon runner doesn't win by sprinting the whole way and collapsing at mile 10. She wins by finding the right steady pace that lets her reach the finish line strong. Many of the most ambitious people in history, writers, inventors, leaders, protected huge blocks of quiet, undistracted time. They understood that real creativity, real strategy, and real strength grow in calm, not chaos. Slow living doesn't kill ambition. It removes the unnecessary friction that was burning ambition out. People also imagine slow living as a luxury for those who have endless money or who already live in a quiet village surrounded by fields. They picture expensive retreats, silent monasteries, or early retirement on a beach. That picture couldn't be more wrong. Slow living costs nothing and can start anywhere. Inside a tiny apartment in the middle of a noisy city on a crowded bus during a 10-minute work break. It's not about where you are, it's about how you pay attention. A parent with 3 kids and 2 jobs can still practice slow living by turning off notifications during dinner, by walking the long way home once a week just to feel the air, by saying no to one extra commitment that doesn't truly matter. The single mom, the night shift nurse, the college student with loans, none of them need permission or a bigger bank account to begin. They only need the decision to protect small pockets of time and attention for themselves and the people they love. Hustle culture, the religion of rise and grind, promised that if you just push harder and sleep less, everything you want will finally arrive. For a while it feels true. The promotions come, the follower count climbs, the bank balance grows, but then one day you look around and realize you achieved a lot and enjoyed almost none of it. The victories feel hollow because you were never fully there to taste them. Relationships weaken because every conversation happens in a hurry. Health breaks down because rest was labeled weakness. And worst of all, the finish line keeps moving. There is always another level, another target, another thing you're supposed to want next. Hustle culture sells the lie that meaning is waiting at the end of constant motion. In reality, meaning is hiding in the moments the motion keeps destroying. Slow living flips the entire game. It says meaning is not a reward you earn later. It is something you choose right now, in ordinary moments, by giving them the attention they deserve. When you wash the dishes slowly and feel the warm water, when you sit with a friend and actually listen instead of planning your reply, when you walk without music and notice the color of the sky, those are not wasted minutes. Those are the moments life is made of. Hustle culture treats them as obstacles on the way to something better. Slow living recognizes them as the something better. The beautiful truth is that anyone can start today, no matter how fast life feels right now. You don't need a new job, a new city, or a new personality. You only need to make one small choice at a time to protect what matters. Say no to one meeting that isn't necessary. Turn your phone face down for one meal. Take the stairs instead of checking messages in the elevator. These tiny acts are not escapes from real life. They are the beginning of a real life. Slow living is not a privilege for the lucky few. It is a birthright we reclaim the moment we decide our attention belongs to us, not to the noise. Epicurus lived in ancient Greece over 2,000 years ago, and he built his entire philosophy around one simple question: what actually makes a human life good? He watched people chase fame, money, luxury, and power, only to end up anxious and unhappy. His answer was that real pleasure, the calm, lasting kind, comes from modest things we can easily have and keep. A quiet garden, fresh bread, water, close friends to talk with. These were enough for true contentment. He divided desires into three types: natural and necessary ones like food and shelter, which bring peace when satisfied; natural but unnecessary ones like fancy meals, which are nice but not needed; and empty ones like endless wealth or status, which only create fear of losing them. Epicurus taught that freedom from unnecessary wants is the greatest wealth because it removes the constant ache of always needing more. He ran a community called The Garden where people from all walks of life shared simple meals and deep conversations, proving that joy does not require complication. One of his clearest teachings captures this perfectly. Do not spoil what you have by desiring what you have not. Remember that what you now have was once among the things you only hoped for. This line reminds us to pause and appreciate the ordinary gifts already in our hands: a warm home, health enough to move, people who care, because chasing the next shiny thing blinds us to the quiet happiness right here. Epicurus wasn't against enjoyment. He was against the kind of enjoyment that enslaves us to fear and restlessness. By choosing modest desires, we gain a steady tranquility that no amount of speed or stuff can buy. Seneca, a Roman thinker who lived centuries later, faced a world of emperors, politics, and constant drama, yet he returned again and again to the problem of time. He saw people rushing from one activity to the next, always busy, yet never feeling they had enough hours. His insight was that the issue isn't the length of life, but how we use it. We complain about shortness while pouring days into gossip, worry, endless planning, and trivial distractions. Seneca wrote letters filled with gentle but firm advice to friends, urging them to guard their hours like treasure. He believed that a life filled with hurry is a life half-lived, because true living requires space to think, feel, and choose wisely. His most famous line on this is direct and powerful. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. He meant that anyone who stops frittering away moments on unimportant things suddenly discovers life feels abundant. Seneca practiced what he preached even in difficult circumstances. He faced exile and eventual forced death, yet he used his days to read, write, reflect, and connect deeply with those around him. His message is that haste is the great thief. It steals the very experiences we claim to be working toward. Far to the east in ancient China, Lao Tzu offered a different but matching vision through Taoism. He spoke little and wrote even less, but the short book attributed to him, the Tao Te Ching, carries enormous weight. Lao Tzu observed nature, rivers carving stone without force, trees bending in wind without breaking, and saw the same pattern for human life. He called this Wu Wei, which means action without strain or effortless doing. It's not inactivity, it's moving with the current instead of fighting it. A farmer who plants at the right season and then trusts the rain works less yet harvests more than one who forces the soil every day. Lao Tzu warned that forcing outcomes creates resistance and exhaustion, while aligning with natural rhythms brings ease and success. He put it beautifully: nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. A seed becomes a mighty tree without rushing. Seasons change in perfect order without strain. When we apply this to our lives, we stop pushing so hard and start noticing when to act and when to wait. The result is less fatigue and more achievement, because force burns energy while flow channels it. Aristotle, another Greek thinker, approached the question from the angle of balance and purpose. He believed humans flourish when we live according to our highest nature, which includes reason and reflection. He introduced the idea of the golden mean, finding the middle path between extremes. Too little effort leads to stagnation, too much leads to collapse. Courage sits between cowardice and recklessness, generosity between stinginess and waste. For daily living, this means avoiding the extreme of constant frantic activity on one side and total idleness on the other. Aristotle placed the highest value on contemplation, quiet time to think, wonder, and understand, because it completes us in a way a mere doing never can. He saw hurried lives as unbalanced, pulled toward excess without room for the soul to rest in its proper place. He described true happiness this way: happiness is the settling of the soul into its most appropriate spot. When we rush endlessly, the soul has no chance to settle. It stays agitated and displaced. Only in measured pace, with time for thought and moderate action, does it find rest and strength. These four voices, Epicurus from Greece with his garden simplicity, Seneca from Rome with his fierce protection of time, Lao Tzu from China with his flowing acceptance, and Aristotle with his balanced contemplation, come from different lands and eras, yet they speak the same warning against rushed living. Each saw that constant haste scatters the mind, inflames desires, wastes precious days, fights natural rhythms, and pulls us away from thoughtful balance. Together they form a clear ancient critique. A life driven by speed sacrifices the very depth and peace it claims to pursue. Their shared remedy is deliberate calm, modest wants, protected time, natural flow, and reflective space. The human body was never built to run at full speed all day, every day. When we live in chronic hurry, the brain treats life like a permanent emergency. It releases cortisol and adrenaline in steady streams instead of short bursts. These hormones are useful when you actually need to escape danger, but when they stay high for weeks and months, they wear the body down. Sleep becomes shallow, the immune system weakens, blood pressure climbs, digestion suffers, and anxiety or irritability become the new normal. Scientists now measure this clearly. People who report constant time pressure have significantly higher cortisol levels, higher rates of heart disease, and shorter telomeres, the little protective caps on DNA that shorten faster under stress. In simple terms, rushing literally ages you quicker and makes you feel worse while you're still alive. The ancients didn't have lab equipment, yet they noticed the same pattern. A hurried soul is a restless, frightened, unhealthy soul. At the same time, choosing slowness does the opposite. When the pace drops, the nervous system shifts from fight or flight into rest and repair mode. Heart rate variability improves, inflammation markers fall, and the brain produces more feel-good chemicals like serotonin and dopamine in a steady flow instead of frantic spikes. Long-term studies on people who practice deliberate calm, whether through meditation, nature walks, or simply refusing to overschedule, show lower rates of depression, stronger immune response, and even longer life expectancy. Slowing down is not a luxury add-on. It is basic maintenance for a human animal that evolved in a much quieter world than the one we have built. Creativity is one of the biggest casualties of hurry, and science explains why. When the mind is jumping from task to task, it stays in a narrow, focused state that is good for checking boxes but terrible for new ideas. Real creativity needs the brain's default mode network, a web of regions that lights up when we are daydreaming, showering, walking, or staring out a window. This network connects distant memories and concepts, producing the sudden insights we call aha moments. Researchers at places like Stanford and Harvard have tracked this. People who take slow, aimless walks generate 40 to 60% more creative solutions than people sitting still or rushing. The same studies show that constant busyness keeps the default mode network suppressed, so ideas never have room to form. Epicurus sitting quietly in his garden, Seneca writing letters in the morning light, Lao Tzu watching a river. They weren't wasting time. They were giving their minds the exact conditions science now proves are required for original thought. Decision-making suffers just as badly under pressure. Every choice, no matter how small, uses up a limited resource scientists call decision fatigue. By late afternoon, someone who has made hundreds of tiny decisions, what to eat, what to answer, which notification to open, has less willpower and worse judgment left for the things that actually matter. Doctors prescribe unnecessary antibiotics more often at the end of a busy clinic day, and ordinary people spend more impulsively after a long string of choices. Slow living fights this by cutting out the unimportant decisions. Fewer wardrobe options, set routines for meals, fixed times to check messages. Fewer trivial choices means clearer thinking when real decisions arrive. There is also an ideal level of arousal for performance, mapped out over 100 years ago in something called the Yerkes-Dodson law. Picture an upside-down U. Too little pressure and you're bored and sluggish. Too much pressure and you're anxious and scattered. Peak performance sits right in the middle. Modern life pushes most of us far up the right side of that curve. Constant deadlines, packed calendars, endless pings. So we operate in the zone where mistakes multiply and quality drops. Deliberate slowness pulls us back toward the sweet spot. A programmer who takes short breaks to breathe deeply finishes code faster and with fewer bugs. A teacher who refuses to cram one more activity into the day connects better with students. The calm middle ground is where human beings do their best work, and the ancients instinctively protected it. By late 2025, burnout has become one of the biggest public health stories in the world. The World Health Organization already classifies it as an occupational phenomenon, and new surveys show that more than half of working adults feel emotionally drained, detached, and ineffective at least several days a week. Younger generations reported even more. Constant comparison online, pressure to side hustle, fear of falling behind, all fueled by the myth that rest equals failure. Emergency room visits for anxiety keep rising, prescriptions for sleep medication keep climbing, and quiet quitting has become a household term. People are not lazy. They are exhausted from a rhythm their bodies and minds cannot sustain. Slow practices are the proven antidote. Randomized trials on mindfulness, Sabbath keeping, and nature exposure show dramatic drops in burnout scores within weeks. Companies that enforce no email weekends or shorter meeting days see higher productivity and lower staff turnover. Simply walking slowly among trees, lower cortisol by double-digit percentages in under an hour. Even 10 minutes of true doing nothing without a phone or podcast starts rewiring the brain toward calm. These are not fluffy extras. They are evidence-based medicine for a society that accidentally poisoned itself with speed. Everything the ancients felt in their bones, that too much hurry destroys peace, health, wisdom, and joy, modern science has now measured and confirmed. The stress response, the default mode network, decision fatigue, optimal arousal curves, and the burnout epidemic all point to the same conclusion. Human beings thrive when we give ourselves permission to move at a natural pace. The philosophers did not need fancy machines to see the truth. They only needed clear eyes and quiet hours. The first pillar of philosophical slow living is moderating desires, drawn directly from Epicurus. This means training yourself to want only what is natural and necessary for a good life. Things like enough food to feel satisfied, shelter that keeps you safe and comfortable, clothes that protect you from the weather, and the company of a few trusted people. Everything beyond that can be enjoyed if it comes easily, but it should never become something you feel you must have to be happy. When desires stay modest, life becomes lighter because there is far less to chase, protect, or fear losing. You stop measuring yourself against endless upgrades, newer phones, bigger houses, more expensive vacations, and start feeling content with what already works well enough. This moderation creates room for calm because the mind no longer spins with plans to acquire the next thing. Instead of constant striving, there is steady peace from knowing your basic needs are met, and that is truly sufficient. The second pillar comes from Seneca and focuses on single tasking paired with sacred pauses. This is about doing one thing at a time with full attention and building short, protected breaks into every day where nothing is demanded of you. When you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. When you talk to someone, really listen without planning your next reply or checking your phone. Multitasking feels efficient, but actually scatters focus and leaves everything half done in the mind. Single tasking brings the work to completion faster and with better quality because the mind stays sharp and engaged. Sacred pauses, 5 minutes of quiet breathing between meetings, a full evening with no screens, or a morning before touching email, act like resets that guard your attention the way a fence guards a garden. These moments of deliberate nothing allow thoughts to settle and energy to return, preventing the constant drain that comes from never giving yourself permission to stop. The third pillar is effortless action, known as Wu Wei in Lao Tzu's teaching. It means learning to act in harmony with how things naturally unfold instead of always pushing against them. Picture sailing with the wind rather than rowing straight into it. You still reach your destination, often faster and with far less struggle. In daily life, this shows up as noticing the right timing, starting a difficult conversation when both people are calm, working on a project when inspiration strikes instead of forcing it during exhaustion, or letting a tense situation cool before reacting. Effortless action does not mean doing nothing, it means stopping unnecessary resistance. When you align with the flow, tasks feel lighter, outcomes improve, and you spend far less energy fighting circumstances that cannot be forced anyway. The fourth pillar, from Aristotle, centers on contemplation and balance. He saw quiet reflection as the highest human activity because it allows us to understand ourselves and the world more clearly. Make regular space for thinking without purpose, sitting with a notebook and no agenda, walking while letting the mind wander, or simply watching clouds move. Balance means avoiding extremes in effort, not collapsing into total rest, nor driving into constant motion. Find the middle path where work and recovery support each other. This pillar keeps life from tilting too far toward endless doing. It returns you to thoughtful choices about what is worth your limited time. The fifth pillar is embracing simple pleasures and full presence in ordinary moments. Notice the warmth of sunlight on your skin, the smell of rain on pavement, the texture of fabric in your hands, the quiet satisfaction of a clean space. These small joys are always available and cost nothing, yet most days we pass them by while waiting for something bigger. Full presence means bringing gentle awareness to whatever is happening right now, brushing teeth, waiting in line, folding laundry, treating each as worthy of attention instead of something to rush through. When ordinary moments receive this care, they expand and become the source of daily contentment. The sixth pillar is prioritizing deep relationships over superficial quantity. Invest time in a small circle where conversations go beyond surface updates into real feelings, dreams, fears, and support. One evening of honest talk with a close friend gives more nourishment than dozens of casual chats. Depth requires showing up fully, listening without distraction, and allowing silence when needed. These connections become anchors that make the rest of life feel safer and more meaningful. The seventh pillar is memento mori, remembering that death comes to everyone. Keep a gentle awareness that days are finite, perhaps through a quiet thought each morning or a small object that reminds you. This is not meant to frighten but to clarify. Knowing time is limited cuts away pointless urgency, arguments over small things, endless scrolling, jobs that drain the spirit for little return. What remains is stronger motivation to spend hours on what truly matters. Love, kindness, experiences that touch the heart. One of the easiest ways to begin slow living in 2026 is by protecting your mornings with what some call a monk morning. This simply means delaying your phone as long as possible after waking up. No checking messages, no scrolling feeds, no jumping into the day's noise right away. Instead, use that first hour or two for quiet activities that belong only to you. Drink water slowly, stretch gently, sit with a cup of tea or coffee while looking out a window, read a few pages of a real book, or just breathe and feel your body wake up naturally. Many people place their phone in another room overnight or use a basic alarm clock to make this easier. The point is to let your mind start the day clear and calm, without other people's demands flooding in immediately. Over time, this practice sets a steady tone for everything that follows, reducing the scattered feeling that builds when the day begins reactively. Another daily habit worth adding is 20 minutes of intentional nothing time. Find a spot, your couch, a park bench, even standing by a window, and sit or stand without any goal. No book, no music, no planning in your head if you can help it. Just be there, noticing sounds around you, the feeling of air on your skin, or whatever thoughts pass by without grabbing onto them. It might feel strange or wasteful at first because we're used to filling every gap. But this empty space is where the mind sorts itself out and rests deeply. You can set a gentle timer so you don't worry about the clock. And if your thoughts race, that's okay. Simply notice and let them drift. This short daily pause rebuilds attention and lowers the background tension that accumulates from constant activity. For handling tasks, try limiting yourself to a strict 3-item to-do list each day. Write down only the 3 most important things that truly need your energy and let the rest wait or disappear. This forces you to choose what matters instead of pretending everything is urgent. When those 3 are done, the day feels complete even if smaller things remain unfinished. It stops the endless chasing feeling and gives space for unexpected joys or needed rest. Keep the list visible on paper or a small note. so you stay focused without apps adding more items behind your back. On a weekly level, choose one day for a digital Sabbath or full analog day, 24 hours mostly free from screens. Turn off notifications, leave the phone charging in a drawer, and spend time on hands-on activities. Cooking from scratch, playing board games with family, reading paper books, drawing, gardening, or simply talking face-to-face. If complete disconnection feels impossible at first, start with half a day and build up. This break resets your relationship with technology, making you realize how much richer time feels when not fragmented by constant input. Also weekly, make at least a couple of meals truly slow. Sit at a table without phones or television, chew each bite fully, taste the flavors, and eat at a pace that lets conversation flow naturally if you're with others. Prepare food with care when possible. Chop vegetables by hand, stir slowly, turning the whole process into a grounding ritual instead of fuel grabbed on the go. Finally, build in long walks without headphones or podcasts. Leave the ears open to birds, wind, footsteps, distant voices. Let the world provide its own soundtrack. Walk slowly enough to notice details, changing light on buildings, smells from gardens, the rhythm of your own breathing. These walks become moving meditation that clears mental clutter and invites fresh perspectives without added input. Many people worry that slowing down means falling behind in a world that rewards speed. The fear is real. If everyone else keeps rushing, won't you lose opportunities, money, or status? History shows the opposite. Albert Einstein spent long hours walking quietly through parks and streets, letting ideas arrive without force. Those unhurried walks helped shape relativity. Charles Darwin took daily slow strolls along his sandwalk path at home, thinking deeply without distraction, which allowed him to develop the theory of evolution over years of patient observation. Many groundbreaking minds, writers like Virginia Woolf, philosophers like Nietzsche, built their best work on routines filled with deliberate empty time and solitary walks. They didn't fall behind. Their slower pace let them see further than the frantic crowd. The key to lasting change is starting small. Pick just one pillar from earlier or one practice here, maybe monk mornings or the 3-item list, and commit to it fully for 7 days. Notice how you feel without judging results too soon. Small, consistent steps build momentum better than trying everything at once and burning out. After a week, add another if it feels right. Slow living grows gently, like everything worthwhile. The greatest paradox of all is this: when you finally slow down, life stops slipping away and starts to feel truly long. The days no longer blur into one exhausted streak. Instead, each one stretches, filled with small details you actually notice. The warmth of sunlight moving across a room, the quiet rhythm of your own thoughts, the real flavor of food eaten without distraction. Time expands not because more hours are added, but because you are fully inside the ones you have. What felt short and frantic becomes spacious and rich, as if you've reclaimed years that were previously lost to hurry. Slow living isn't about escaping life or doing less in some lazy way. It's about stepping into the richness you've been rushing past all along. The conversations that go deeper, the simple pleasures that satisfy without needing more, the moments of presence that turn ordinary days into something worth remembering. These were always there, waiting patiently while you sped by. By choosing slowness, you stop missing them. You trade the shallow rush for depth that lasts, the fleeting high of busyness for the steady warmth of being truly alive. Seneca captured it perfectly 2,000 years ago. Life is long if you know how to use it. Pick just one practice from what we've explored this week. Maybe a monk morning without your phone, or 20 minutes of doing nothing, or a single slow meal where you taste every bite. Try it once, then again, and notice what shifts inside you. The change is quiet at first, but it grows. You have the power to choose a different rhythm starting right now, in this very moment. Every breath you take a little deeper, every step you allow to land a little softer, every ordinary task you meet with full presence, these are quiet acts of courage that rebuild your life from the inside out. The world will keep rushing, but you no longer have to follow. Instead, you can stand still long enough to feel the ground beneath you, to hear your own heart speaking clearly, to rediscover the strength that has always been waiting in calm. Slow living is not retreat. It is the bravest advance toward what truly matters, toward joy that lasts, peace that holds, and a life that finally feels like your own. Step into it today, trust the quiet path, and watch how everything you've ever wanted begins to arrive not in spite of slowness, but because of it. You are ready. The richer life is already here, waiting for you to slow down and claim it.